You've read the books, you've read the blogs, you may have even watched some of these videos, and yet you still haven't committed to living with less. In this video, I break down what prevents you from a more minimalist lifestyle and how to overcome these obstacles. I'm Dara. I help people live a more minimalist lifestyle so they can focus on what matters most without getting overwhelmed along the way. If you'd like to live a simpler life, subscribe and stay tuned for more videos like this one. Sometimes we know we want to do something. We're committed to the idea. We want the results of a process, but somehow we're still stuck. Whether it's in the day-to-day business of maintaining your stuff and your space, or going through a full-blown downsizing process, there are some common obstacles that prevent you from living with less stuff. If you start to look at these obstacles from a different angle, you'll be able to break through the energy-sucking barriers to a simpler life. I'm gonna go through the top 12 things that stop you in your tracks when trying to develop a minimalist lifestyle. One is a scarcity mindset. Don't get me wrong, we have to address the fact that over time our finances might change, things may change in our lives, and I don't want you to put yourself in a precarious position here. But if you have a scarcity mindset, you'll start to apply that to things that don't even matter. So yes, it's true. In the future, you might not have as much money as you do now or as many resources, but do you really need to keep all those tools that you'll never use because you actually really don't like fixing things? This is where you have to get real with yourself and figure out where the scarcity mindset is creeping in and just spend some time being practical and unpacking that. Guilt about letting go of items that people gave you. And I'm talking about gifts, heirlooms, any sort of hand-me-down, really just even random things that people passed off to you. Guilt will get you nowhere. If you haven't done anything wrong, you have nothing to feel guilty about. You are doing something good for yourself and the world by letting go of things in a responsible manner that do not serve you, and hopefully preventing yourself from obtaining those things in the future. Never let anybody let you feel guilty about this, and if they do, let me know and I will talk to them for you. 3 is being different. Some of us are surrounded by people who really value more and more, or value lots of types of things or categories of things that we don't feel are important. When it comes time to really let go of things, sometimes this fear of being different, because our values are essentially going to be on display, it gets a little bit uncomfortable. If you get over your fear of being different and have a different mindset about it, this work gets a lot easier. 4, using possessions and your home to signify success. We just look at money and the products of money to be a visible representation of our success. And sort of in line with maybe being fearful of being different, you're reforming the way that you show your success. Success for you can be living a simple life, having the opportunity to really enjoy your successes. So the moment you feel that tug that says, hey, wait a second, but I'm gonna look a certain way, you know you need to change your mindset. 5, what ifs. What ifs get us into a roller coaster of emotion and analyzing, and it doesn't really get us anywhere. So yes, sometimes you might think, what if X, Y, and Z happens? Okay, you have to think about that in certain instances where we're talking about something really value or something that maybe you have used before. But if you get caught up always in what ifs, sort of like with the scarcity mindset, you're not living in the present moment anymore. You can be practical while not letting what ifs drive your decision making. 6, I spent money on this. Okay, the money's gone. So maybe you can make some of it back by selling, but when it comes down to it, the fact that you spent money on something should never, ever, ever be a reason to keep it. You only keep the things you really want and that you really need and then you find responsible ways of getting rid of the rest. Doesn't matter what you spent. If it hurts, it's a lesson. 7, shame about what you didn't accomplish. This shame may even come when we're talking about a small thing, like a return you were supposed to make and you feel badly that you never made it, so you just kept the item. Or it could be a big thing, like a huge project where you bought all the supplies and then never did the actual project itself. Shame, like guilt, are signals. When you feel the emotion, that's a time to take a beat, figure out what's going on, but it should never drive our decision making when it comes to a minimalist lifestyle. 8, too hard. I get it. Everybody wants a hack, everybody wants an app, everyone wants everything to be really easy. And when you've spent years and years accumulating, multiply that by a fraction of 10 or 100 or 1,000, and that's how much effort it takes to get rid of that stuff. That's why prevention is so important, but that is also why you need to start addressing this now, because it will only get harder. So for a lot of us, the too hard moment is a barrier, and you have to find a way of breaking through that. And it might be by changing your strategy, it might be taking a little bit of a break, it might be enlisting support. Whatever you need to do, you have to understand that it's just stuff. You can do this. If you got yourself into this mess, you can get out of it. 9, too emotional. Kind of along the lines of it being too hard, sometimes what's hardest about it is the emotional stuff that comes up, and it often comes up unexpectedly. And sometimes we kind of know it's there, and that's why we've been avoiding doing this work. Again, finding ways to make this easier. A mindfulness practice, listening to podcasts or TV, journaling, anything to sort of mitigate that emotional process, but understanding that you have to go through it. It is not something that you can avoid. 10, if you're just not sure how to start. Some of these other issues are really big mindset issues, they're really deep. Sometimes we just actually don't know what we're supposed to do. And starting is generally the hardest part, or maybe you've started on a couple quick pieces, but now you're starting like the big stuff. I do have a video about why it's hard to start and overcoming some of those challenges, so be sure to check that out. This is a project, and it might be a multi-year long project, it might be a short-term project, but you have to spend some time focusing on how to start first. So you need to come up with a plan. 11 is spent cost. So this is the stuff you've already spent on, and I'm not just talking about money, which we covered earlier, like the cost of your time, the cost of certain efforts that you made, whatever it was that you did. Maybe you even spent a lot of time making something. That is time you will never get back, in addition to any other financial implications. What is done, and if you let what has been done affect your present and your future, you will never get out of this hamster wheel. This is a really big one in terms of letting go. Dig into any moment that you feel a pull from a spent cost scenario. Recognize it. If that's the only reason you're keeping something, let it go. 12 is the urge to buy. So all of these other items have really been about the downsizing process, but caught up in all of that is the fact you might still want to buy stuff. And that urge is going to prevent you from moving forward. So you have to be very, very, very careful, especially when you're focused on this downsizing project and you're really focused on minimalism, to not let your buying urges take control. You have to be way more careful, because another thing that happens a lot is people go through this process, things are better, they have room, they start buying again. Maybe it doesn't get as bad as it was before, but they haven't really overcome that urge to buy, which is different from the practical needs to buy something that you really, really want. I'm talking about that urge that sort of captures you. That is something you'll need to work on at any stage of this process. It's an ongoing effort. So what next? To start living with less stuff, you need to identify which of these obstacles, and there's probably more than one, that are holding you back from a more minimalist lifestyle. Review the list again. Maybe there are a few other items that aren't on my top 12 list that apply to you. Add those. Then make some notes about how you feel about each of the obstacles. Then moving from feelings, you could go to the more practical side of things. Come up with ways that you can work through these obstacles. Think about mindset change in all of this. It's not pushing through your emotions or pushing them away. And it's not just about a concrete strategy where you're following steps. It really is about mindset change. And that will ease their power over you. For more information about minimalism and making your life easier, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when a new video releases.